Hello, everyone. This is Lark,
And Kimberly.
and we are uh this is an auto asphyxiation show. Um, and it is blazingly hot. We've got off a blazingly hot weekend. It's still hot. They even had rain this weekend.
Yes, not as much as I had hoped.
Yeah, it's I used to not understand it's hot in California, but it's dry heat. I was like, what the hell does that mean? Oh, now I know. Now, now I I fully understand. But I'm gonna tell you guys something. Something very interesting and fascinating happened to me this weekend. It was the Trail National Trails Day this Saturday. Um, and National Trails Day, do we know, is this an annual event or is this new or is this
It's an
something?
it's an annual event, but this year they made a big deal out of it because of the 250th birthday of America, as well as some anniversaries of when National Parks Foundation was founded and when the National Trails Foundation was founded.
Yes, I mean, this is so in my little city of Bloomfield, we actually opened up a trail that is part of the Greenway. When we talked about the Greenway, and I want to say something early because I know people are kind of like, oh yes, you're the person that has, I this trails are how lots of people start cycling. Streets are how people live by cycling. And we need both. They have to connect. I mean, trails are a really accessible point for people. It's they're good. I mean, like you like hiking and stuff, right,
Yes,
Kimberly?
yeah, I love hiking actually.
Yeah, so like, that is something that people, especially in the US, are very used to like driving in our cars. That's a lot of people's first experience in cycling. But at the same on the same token, I've always said and stressed this that, real mobility requires that it connects those trails like the Greenway to our homes to daily destinations. I mean, but this is something, rails to trails. This is great. So, you know, with that, we're just kind of like going to, because I don't I want people to know I love the trails. I simply when we were doing the trails and I was kind of like people were like, well, where are we gonna park? And I got sad.
Th- That's the thing is that you have to drive to the trail, park, ride your bike, and then loop back around to the parking lot and get in your car and drive home. There's no connectability between trails and like actual daily life where you could bicycle and not have to worry about using a car in between.
Yeah, and I mean it's yeah, that is something that we need to do. I mean, because if we're trying to like this is part of the environment, this is part of not only health is good. I love, we need to be healthy, but also it's about our environment. It's about the climate crisis. And so when we are looking at the climate crisis, we're looking at things like that. How do we create a situations that people can actually, you know, be part of solving the problem in regards to walking, biking, like taking public transit to these trails. And I think that's something that our environmental protection agencies really have to start thinking about.
I agree with you. And it's especially now where we're really, we're on the precipice of losing a lot of our environmental protections. The Trump administration has done away with a lot of the National Forestry Service and a lot of other environmental protections, and we're starting to see the ramifications of it now. But it is something that we don't have a lot of time to figure this out. We have a very finite amount of time to figure out how to get our impact on the climate under control so that we can slow down or halt the rapid changing climate that's occurring.
Exactly. So, I want to, stress that we want to stress trails do matter. And even when I'm doing critiques, I think some people when I do a critique of the Greenway and of trails, they think I'm saying that we shouldn't have trails. And I'm not ever saying that because that's probably the way Kimberly and most of my friends are going to get on a bike. We do the Friendly Eight ride on Saturday mornings, and it's a very very light ride around the park, around a pond in my neighborhood, and it's 10 miles per hour. It's super slow, and so this is kind of like the entry point. I call it like a gateway. We don't want to use gateway bicycling is our trails, our parks. And it's low stress because it's like you don't have to fight the cars and things like that. But if people can get to those trails without driving, what do? We open up a whole because people are like, you know what? I would like to from my neighborhood, I'm gonna ride my bike to the trail. And then you might think, maybe I could ride my bike to the public transit station. Maybe I could ride my bike to work. Maybe my children could ride their bikes to school. So I think, you know, even this, there's a bill, Parks to Active Transit that McIver is sponsoring, your Congresswoman,
Yes.
which is amazing. And I think that this is important, important legislation. Um, And I think that with every legislation, what we want to do is make sure that we connect it to the community. And the connection can't just be because there's a lot of connections. Connection is telling people where it is, making a map, but also, oh, wow, here's how you can bicycle to this trail. Here's how you can walk to this trail. Because trails are often the front porch of cycling. If we're gonna have a porch fest in just so you guys know, if we're having a porch fest in Halcyon Park. And so I kind of view this as this trail that we opened up in Bloomfield as a porch fest for cycling. So it's kind of like, oh wow, we have this porch. What's behind there? How can we, you know what I mean? I know I'm talking a lot.
No, but I agree with you. Like my work is about 3 miles away, and I would dearly love to be able to hop on a bicycle and get there. Like it seems like a pretty like easy way to get to work. But the infrastructure between my house and where I work is just it's not feasible. It feels much like I would be taking my life in my own hands. Plus, the buses don't really run in the area of Newark where I work. Like they're supposed to, but they don't really seem to show up. So, like I'm stuck with rideshare a lot of the times, and I would much rather get on a bicycle and go to work that way.
Yeah, and I say the thing is this is that we want trails to be part of daily life because when they're not part of daily life, they become recreational, they become scenic, they become disconnected. It's like, oh, I need a break from the world. Let me go and go on to the trail, which is fine. But we kind of foster this US idea that a trail doesn't connect your destination and it becomes like a hobby. It becomes like this weekend rider trap. Like um people that could start biking, they don't because they can't bike to work, they can't bike to school, they can't bike to the grocery store. So our policies, wow, we're opening up this door for people to experience a new way of getting around. And a lot of people, when they go to these things, are like, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could, get on my bike? Oh, but I can't because it doesn't connect. So we have this policy imbalance because it's easier in many ways to fund um, trails and open space and parks. And it's harder to like reallocate like street space, you know, that they think are for cars, for bicycles, even if it's connecting to this trail. But I feel that the this new legislation, this parks active transportation bill that MacIver has like, that is MacIver has co-sponsored. I feel like we have some great opportunities to connect the urban street to our open spaces. I mean, like, what do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea. And I think, like two things can be true at once. We can love our trails and we can love our recreational bicycling areas while also advocating for real bicycle transportation lanes around the city and connections to these trails. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We can want and advocate for both things.
And I think that's the thing. I think sometimes we say, a lot of times people say, "Oh, we can do both things." But I think the thing is that one of our items that we need to look at is when we're looking at whether it be policy, whether it be bills, sometimes we need to explicitly say, um, this needs to connect to the community by this street. Essentially creating like, oh, this needs to connect to Bloomfield Avenue. Or if you have a trail, you need to have at least a half a mile of the urban streets that are around that connects to the trail. I mean, I know that seems kind of like not vague, but I think we need to be really explicit because I think about when I was looking at the parks active transportation bill, in a section it says closing network gaps, and so in section 2K5D, including construct path segments that close local or regional network gaps. So that could be something that we can use to connect to our public transit or to bike lanes. Another one says in section 2K5E, support an accessible public realm connecting to public transportation. So that's explicit. Another one says reduce congestion in single occupancy vehicle trips and improve safety and access to jobs. So these are things that can be included to create ways other than a parking lot. Because when you see people talking about trails and when the first thing people go, or how are people going to get here? Oh, where is the parking lot? And the thing is that there's a fight for, should it be a parking lot because we want people to come here, or shouldn't there be a parking lot? But there's none of that second question. Can there be a walking trail or a bike lane to it? It's not whether it's, should this just be for people who are right down the street, or should it be for people who are just in the neighborhood, or we don't want people to come. Put it this way, we don't want people to bring their cars, but we do want you to come to our trails. And I think that this is something that can happen. But I think the conversation, we need to have this conversation. And I don't know if we're having it enough and we're being as explicit as we could be in regards to this project and other projects that are part of the Greenway.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's another thing, like the parking lot situation, in my opinion, could also be one of those things that like we can have two of. We can have a very small parking lot for people who are coming from a distance to use a trail. To kind of cut down on the amount of people that are going to be driving there, while also having walking paths or cycling paths to the trail. Two things can happen at once, and that's like what gets to me about a lot of different subjects politically is that people think that you can only have things one way, and that's just simply not true. You can incorporate all sorts of different ideas and still achieve what you want to achieve.
And I think this is important too, because this is why Kimberly and I do such a great job, essentially co-hosting the show, because I have my perspective in regards to, cycling and transportation, and she has her perspective in regards to like cycling and transportation. Like I would have never said like maybe a little parking lot. I'd be like no parking. But see, the thing is that but that's not reasonable. That's not everybody. And that's the thing. You can't, even if you have an idea of what you want to have, you still have to work with other people. And so you still have to be open to other ideas. And I wish that even in our, like in our, in cycling, in urbanism, in open, we call it open plans, open streets. I think we should be able to hold space for all kinds of ideas, all kinds of objectives, all kinds of goals. I like the whole idea of the trails to street pipeline. Like we have the Greenway. How about we have a trails to street pipeline and have that be part of this project. Like, wow, we're connecting the Greenway. The Greenway is connecting all of the East Coast. Great. How about the trails be a pipeline to our urban areas? So we're connecting it to the street by building, walkable paths. Because another thing too, sometimes in New Jersey we don't have sidewalks. And the sidewalks are a little bit iffy. And the thing is that the same places, and also too, we don't have even the streets are kind of bumpy. So if you're riding your bicycle in the street, I rode my bicycle from my house in Halcyon Park to the new Greenway opening, and it was so much fun. But when I was riding on the streets were a little bit were not paved over, which if you're in the car and the street's not paved over and it's like some cracks and things, it's okay because you're in a car. But when you're in a bike, you can injure yourself. Or if you're in a wheelchair, if you have a walker, we need to make sure that there's walking paths to those trails. We need to make sure that they're accessible for wheelchairs. So if we do have a parking lot, I feel that most of that parking should be for people who are disabled. So we have disabled, and making sure that those wheelchairs and things can actually get onto the path. So I think that these are things that we need to really think about, not just cycling, but also wheelchairs, also disabled people. Also, so it's like the trails are, are being built for riders, and the streets should keep those riders. Like, oh wow, you had such a great experience on this trail, riding your bike, walking, getting to know your neighbor. Let's continue that experience. It doesn't have to be a weekend thing. This could be a every time I go somewhere thing. This could be what do you call it? This can be something that we participate in when we are going to work, when we are going to school. I think about when I go to work and I ride, my little convertible, not convertible, but my bike, my foldable bike. I call it a convertible bike, and that doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why. I think because it's like I have the auto asphyxiation brain, so I'm still calling it because it's like I'm folding it, like I'm folding my. Um, and I go, I'm riding because it's fun. I'm like, wow, I'm not dealing with all this traffic. So it's like if it's the weather's not good, I can do the light rail. But if it's good, I'll ride my bike. But I get sad because I think about people who are like, oh, I could only do this on the weekends. Or kind of like you could only get it if you could get rideshare to drop you off there because
Yeah.
you're not close to it. And this shouldn't be, again, a lot of the Greenway I noticed are by houses, like single family homes. So essentially, it's like we're having a greenway a situation where the people who access it, a lot of them already have a backyard. Um, and what about people? Go ahead.
And that's crazy to me because wasn't part of the Greenway supposed to be for like commuters and things like that as well? Like, people that have a single family home in their own backyard are not as inclined, from at least my observations, they're not as inclined to get on a bike and ride to work or something like that. Like things like that should be by apartment buildings and real big like city centers so that people can get to and from where they need to go.
And this is the thing. I think that, this is a great start. Like, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, state parks, forests, historical sites, Congressperson Mejia and MacGyver, Mayor Mundell. You know what? Like, this is wonderful. You've already done like the really hard part. We're getting the trails, we're getting the buy-in, you've invested into open space. So what we request is that don't let the trail ends become parking lots. Don't let them end in towns. Build connections that from trails into neighborhoods, not just the entrance, but the routes. Treat trails as a part of a network, not as a standalone amenity. The Greenway, again, while it's connecting, it needs to connect to the urban areas, to the cities, to the streets. And because we're not anti-trail,
Not at all, no. But how cool would it be to have something like the Greenway that has paths that branch off of it into each city that the Greenway runs through? Then that could actually be a commuter route for people.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm asking you this, Kimberly, if there were a protected bike lane from your home to the trails and to, the bus or the train station, would you take it?
Yes, absolutely. I would because right now I don't have a bike right now, but
You have a bike.
I
You don't have a bike when you know me.
yeah. But right now I avoid it because there's no protected bike lanes. Like it seems like every man for himself out there. Like there are a lot of bicyclists in the city that I live in, but primarily they're in the middle of the street. Like,
Yeah.
and that seems terrifying to me.
Well, vehicular cycling, we talked about vehicular cycling and we talked about building and planning around the vehicular cycling theory. This is really harmful as part of the disaster patriarchy. Cycling should not be a what do you call it, an adrenaline sport. It is a way of it's transportation. Looking at it through a feminist urbanist critique, we want cycling to feel just as simple as getting in your car and starting it. We simply just want you to get on your bike, unlock it, and ride with no fear. You're not afraid.
We'd like cycling to be how it is in Europe. You know, a lot of there's a, you know, you look at like Amsterdam, like people primarily get around by bicycle in these cities, and it's a no-brainer. They just walk out of their door and hop on their bike and go to work, just the same way that we leave our house, get in the car, and go to work. But their impact on the environment is significantly less because they're riding bicycles.
Exactly. So like we've already started the path. Let's continue the path and let's connect this to our communities so that children can have the thrill of riding their bicycles to school. So Kimberly can have the thrill of taking her bicycle to work and maybe one day riding her bicycle over to my a friendly eight bike ride. She's like, that's never
No,
maybe
I
8
wanna, I'm
p.m.
actually off on Saturday. I'd like to
Uh,
come.
okay, Kimberly's gonna be coming. It can happen. And so thank you, Mayor Mundell, Congresspersons, Mejia and MacGyver, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. That's a lot of words. I saying it right. I met you, Ed. I met you. I'm hoping we can like talk and chat again in the future. But thank you folks for listening to us and go out there and see see the trails that are by your homes. We're going to actually link all of that information below. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Kimberly?
That's it. I think that we really covered it very well. And, you know, just to our listeners, you know, just try to reimagine what life could be like if you didn't have to worry about getting in your car all the time and if you were able to get around by bicycle.
Exactly. Imagine what it could be like. We're going to reimagine Bloomfield Avenue when it has a bike lane and a light rail.
Yes.
Because it will happen if we vision it. Anyway, so thank you folks so much for listening. Remember Substack, YouTube. There are some other things I can't remember. But Spotify.
Spotify.
Yes, exactly. So you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for listening.